I've been watching and kind of reacting a little bit to Big Brother. So having a show like Big Brother in today's climate, I know some people are like, "Oh, why are people talking about this? It's so political." But even in like friendship groups that would never usually talk politics, the reason that so many people are talking about it is because it is everywhere. You can't go down the road without there being some. You literally cannot go down the road without there being some kind of painted roundabout or some flag somewhere. So much division at the moment. So I was even more intrigued to see this year's Big Brother. The most controversial was a guy called George. You're like an Asian provocateur. So she's talking about the Buzz Lightyear movie.
Did you go see the new Buzz Lightyear film?
No.
So basically, in the new Buzz Lightyear film, they are lesbians and gay people. So many of them.
Why are they trying to ram it down the throat of all these films?
Snoop Dogg had obviously waded into this conversation and said that, he didn't know how to explain this thing and he was all effed up and stuff. It is crazy to me that somebody could look at that level of inclusion and go, do you know what? My kids are at risk of this gay agenda. Well, go on, people thems. So I have been kind of juggling, obviously, Room to 703 reacts and Room to 703 chats. And I think this is like a Room to 703 chats topic, right? So I've been like watching and kind of reacting a little bit to Big Brother, but not in like my usual reaction where I'm doing videos and that kind of thing. I am just actually commenting on Twitter. It's just easier because there's so many other things I'm reacting to. And the reason I love Big Brother and the reason why I actually do watch reality TV, like certain ones anyway, is that human interaction for me and how people interact in a fairly unfiltered way. Again, there are certain shows where a lot of things are scripted, but in a fairly unscripted way, I think it's just really I just find it interesting. I find it interesting seeing how kind people can be to other people, where the conflict can come, where that conflict comes from, how that gets like solved and the resolution that comes on the back of that. And Big Brother, like, it's one of those household names, especially in the ones in the UK anyway. I don't know about everywhere else, but in the UK where it has provided so much entertainment over the years, particularly the early years of just your average Joes that went in. And some of the celebrity ones have been interesting as well. So I absolutely was going to watch this one. I mean, like last year's one, I loved it. And one of the people, I think her name was Trish, who I backed and I supported her constant level of awareness and consciousness for other people. And she was my winner. I'm an absolute winner. And then we find out that like she is a raw jarred racist, like, and has said some of the most awful things. Like, I mean, she apologized, she took accountability, but your crown's been tainted. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's one of them. You learn from it, and I hope you do, and I hope as a world we are able to forgive people like that have learned from those mistakes. But if that had been a white person who had said the kind of things that she'd said, I know that I'd be holding them just as much to an account. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I don't want to give her like a pass because she's black. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was not okay on any level, and my heart just broke when I read some of the things that she'd written. Like, why would you ever write things like that? So this year, again, particularly against the climate that we're in, because we've got it's such a turbulent climate right now.
Understatement.
I mean, I'll be honest. I've got friends of mine from all kinds of different backgrounds, and there are certain friends that I know who are going to be voting for reform. And the things that reform stand for me, like, I just cannot abide by. And kind of people that I feel are dog whistled to their core by reform are also people that I'm just like, I can't. It just doesn't abide with me to have that kind of ideology. And because of that, like, there's certain like conversations that I'm having amongst different friendship groups of mine, which I never thought I'd be having because I didn't think we'd never have to have these kind of conversations, but we are having them. So having a show like Big Brother in today's climate, I know some people are like, "Oh, why are people talking about this? It's so political." But even in like friendship groups that would never usually talk politics, the reason that so many people are talking about it is because it is everywhere. Like, you can't go down the road without there being some. You literally cannot go down the road without there being some kind of painted roundabout or some flag somewhere, or people talking about like too many mosques, or there's just so much division at the moment. So I was even more intrigued to see this year's Big Brother, just to see how they navigate that, particularly with how Big Brother can censor things and you know, if you cause too much offence or whatever, then they'll boot you out or whatever else. And I think, but mainly after what happened with Jade Goody and Shilpa Shetty.
Celebrity
Suddenly
Big Brother
groups have
racism
formed.
controversy.
That's happened after Jade's come in.
I don't really know when you're genuine and when you're not. Is she being fake? Is she being real? Is she really upset? Is she really happy? For your own benefit, I think you should take a step back.
She's fucking funny little Why am I detested? Why am I hated?
Shilpa, whoever you are. I don't know if I can say her name. Shilpa Bakarada. I said last night, Shilpa Papadem or something.
I'm tired of bullshitting. Look at her face. Look at her color.
Are you blaming me for the chicken?
There's something about Shilpa that threatens Jade, and I don't know what it is.
Not everybody's brought up with people that make their bed and fucking butter their toast for them. You did not only pick OXO cubes off the shopping list, so you're a liar. Not only are you fake, you're a liar. There you go, boom, boom.
Joe, I mean, are you going to say something here? I mean, what is happening here?
While this was going on, I saw Daniela laughing and Joe laughing. Yeah. The allies.
A little army.
In Jade's eyes, she's doing nothing wrong whatsoever. I was bullied at school, and that's what it feels like. Really, really unfair.
And no, it don't smell
will
around
not have someone
no,
calling
it
me
fucking
a
don't. It smells of shit.
Poisons the air. She's been after Shilpa since day one.
You know, Jade, I don't use that language, so you
Well, good for you! Good for you!
Good for you.
You don't use it, I do. Piss off!
You know what? Your claim to fame is this. Good for you.
My claim to fame is meeting you, you fucking loser.
I fucking breaking my day up, I'm telling you.
I don't deserve this. I definitely don't deserve this, Cleo.
I think they've had to be really, really careful about the kind of things that they allowed. I mean, that was the biggest scandal, all in India. People were up in arms. Like it was a big deal. And it was disgusting as well. It was really disgusting. Now I feel as though that the censoring can be, well, I don't know exactly what happened, but one of the most controversial contestants or housemates from this year was a guy called George. And I mean, I've been quite vocal about him on my Twitter because I'm like, you're like an agent provocateur. Yeah, like I don't like some of the things that you're saying with such unsubstantiated claims seem really odd to me. Like, because what, like you're talking, you want to get into arguments with people. And again, this is what we watch Big Brother for, right? We want to see conflicts. We want to see the drama, and you know, we want to see how people interact and how that goes. And I mean, some of my favorite clips of Big Brother are things like with Charley and Chanelle.
It's like when you walk into a room and talk shit and walk out of it.
You two, I'm just sorry to get you involved, but
Fucking fuck off then.
why don't you fuck off, you silly cow? Why don't you fuck off?
I love the way
Am I
you
looking at
come
fuck
back
off
into the
and
house
talk
and
to
not
you?
been arguing again like you said you were gonna.
Do you
You've
think
done
I'm
such a good
do you
job.
really think I'm gonna see
Such
you
a
when I've got
good
you in my
job.
face? Are you having a laugh? You, Chanelle, from Whitfield, where the fuck you're from?
Yeah, you woman can't spell it. She can't even say it
I
out
wouldn't
loud.
want to spell it because I've never fucking heard of it, mate. Have you
Well,
ever heard of it?
that's
Never.
really good.
Brian, when he was talking about talking to that girl.
That's fine. We can go now.
Excellent.
Don't say you can go now. What a stupid thing to say, go now. Go where?
We'll just leave me to dish up, please.
Don't worry. I'll stand and watch you.
I'd rather
This
you
space
did.
belongs to us all.
Are you joking?
No, I'm not joking. Jokes are not my suit.
And she's like, you know, you don't have to watch me while I'm making this. You can go over there. He's like, go over there. Don't tell me to go over there. Go over where? I'm going to stand right here and I'm going to watch you. You know, you've got Alexandra to Gale.
I think after dinner we should have a group vote.
I'm sitting
Who
next to you.
reckons that Rex should just do all the cooking? Me. Meaning everybody else do nothing.
Me too.
Oh. I should have just had soup. What was I thinking?
I was thinking we're gonna cook chips normally. Rex, like, don't keep laughing, it's not funny.
I didn't mean to.
Yeah, but don't laugh in my face, it's not funny.
I'm not laughing in your face and just laughing at the situation. I didn't mean to make them suck it.
Why do you laugh like that then?
Pardon? Because I didn't mean to make them. I can't do anything about it. I am sorry.
I mean, like, yes, Jenny's the same size. Too many things in this house. It's like a fucking zoo. It's like a fucking zoo. I'm not used to it. I live by myself in a very orderly manner. But shit like this don't happen.
Who got booted out because she was like, yeah, we get out of here and the man's make the plans, yeah. It's just some crazy people out there, yeah, some crazy people. So, like, in that sense, George wanting to kind of mix up the grill and shake it all around and stuff, I kind of understand that because that's been the nature of the show in some degree. But some of the things he was saying, you've got to have the most unempathetic view. And I just find that really strange because even some people that have like one unempathetic view, like say you're anti-immigration and stuff, which I think most people are anti-unchecked immigration. I think most people want to know who's coming in, where they're coming from, why they're here, what are their intent. Like, regulated, know what you're doing. That to me makes sense. And I think there has to be something done about, boats coming across that are uncharted and all that. Like, I think everybody can agree that, an open door policy isn't the way. But I think the alienation and the dehumanization of people that are on those boats, and people that by proxy are now being labeled almost the same, people that have been here for years and contribute to our country, and even people that are born here that happen to be Muslim, they're just all getting lumped into this same toxic like category of you are a danger to us, you're a danger to our country, danger to our women and children. Like, usually people that think like that, yeah, like they probably do have they probably do have more unempathetic views, to be fair. So I guess it's not so crazy that he might adopt a lot of them too. But it just feels as though that every conversation he had to almost take the negative stance, the one that's causing the most offense and stuff. So I guess they got rid of him. They're not released yet, so I'm gonna watch tonight's episode to see whether or not they're gonna release what he actually said. But they've just said that like it was something that could be seen anti-Semitic. I would like to know exactly what it is because I do feel as though that from a lot of people that I've seen that have got any critique of, say, Israel, like and the state of Israel, and what like Netanyahu decides he's gonna do, like people automatically assume that's an anti-Semitic view, and I'm like, well, that's not the case. The same way that people who wanted to criticize BLM or the marches that people went on for BLM, like you criticizing that doesn't make you an automatic racist. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it depends on what it is that you're saying. Like, and actually, if you're saying that like there is a genuine critique that you've got of a regime, of a propaganda, of a genocide, then I don't think that's an anti-Semitic thing to say, because I think it's quite clear to anyone that has eyes and a soul, like that you don't fight a war crime with a war crime. Do you know what I mean? So I'd be interested to know exactly what it is that he said, like to know whether or not that's the case. But it is so interesting to me that like even a show like Big Brother has been embroidered with topics of, again, division and whatever. So the one that got my attention was George making comments about, it was actually Jess, the name Jess, the girl from Derick, who I'm starting to understand her a bit more now. But why them subtitles will come in handy. So she's talking about the Buzz Lightyear movie.
Did you go see the new Buzz Lightyear film?
No.
So basically, in the new Buzz Lightyear film, they are lesbians and gay people, so many of them. But my cousin's 7, she's asking me, and it made me, I had to explain it all there, which was actually probably nice too. That's probably what the whole point of the film was, because it was directed
Why are
at
they
children.
trying to ram it down the throat of all these films?
Probably because it's so common these days. It's so
I don't
common.
think it's ramming down throats. I think people who think it's ramming down throats are people who see it as an interference. They're people who see it as something that's in your face. Because like just having it in a film, like I don't think it.
But I see it as trying to encourage a certain political ideology, and they're doing it in kids' film. That's not the place to do things like that.
But that's not right. So okay. So a mum and dad in that film you wouldn't have cared about, but two lesbian.
But
woman.
What? So there are people kissing,
Yeah.
homosexual couples kissing. That's very soft. That's in a way.
Whoa.
Why do you need kisses like that?
Was it?
No, it was Buzz Lightyear film.
Yeah, and were they snogging, or were they just they had a kiss?
It was Buzz Lightyear. They just
Yeah.
like maybe a kiss on the cheek when they were leaving or something.
Is that? I think that's you or people with your views hypersexualizing gay relationships.
Well, I think that's hypersexualizing children's content.
But it's nothing hypersexual about what she just said.
But I just think they're trying to hijack children's films and insert political messaging into it. I don't think that's right.
But you wouldn't be saying the same thing if it was a straight couple. So that's weird to me. Because
I probably would if it was in a kids' film like that.
I don't think you would at all, George.
And in the movie, which I hadn't seen, there is a scene in there where two women kiss, and then she's having to explain to her young nephew, whatever, about the kiss and stuff. And I remember this becoming a thing. And I didn't know this was the film that it was about, but Snoop Dogg had obviously waded into this conversation and said that, you know, he didn't know how to explain this thing, and he was all effed up and stuff. And it started a debate amongst people that were like, you know, we shouldn't be in positions where we're having to explain these things to children because they're still kids. Like, why do we have to do that? And what George was saying was that, you know, why is everything pushing this gay LGBT agenda? Like, it's being shoved down our throats and stuff. And Z was like, well, it's not really being shoved down your throats, because ultimately it was, you know, showing a couple through the stages of their life, having had a kid, and she was showing affection to her wife. Like, you know, I wouldn't imagine that you would look at lots of like heterosexual couples and say that, you know, it's shoving down your throat. It's just to show that those people also exist, you know. And he was like, no, but you know, to me, like it's like isn't it? It's like you're shoving down kids' throats. And he was like, but hang on, they kiss on the cheek, and then they kind of go around in circles about what was the actual act of intimacy that was shown, to whether or not that would then define it to be. Now look, I can only speak from my perspective, and I wouldn't dream about speaking on or for other people, right? But this has always been my take, right? This has always been my take. And definitely now that I'm hearing about this. So the first thing I did was I went to go and watch this scene. And it's on TikTok, it's on YouTube, so you can go and watch the scene yourself. It's a very sweet scene of someone who's watching their life unfold in different stages, kind of latter part of her years, a surprise party with her wife. And she's like, oh my God. And they have, I'm talking like the most nanosecond kiss of like appreciation. There's no kind of like, it is the most innocuous like kiss ever. Like, it's just, there's just nothing to it at all. It's so crazy that something like that meant that the film didn't do that well. And some people were saying that, you know, oh, it's because of this scene, because it was banned from certain countries that wouldn't show it, because of the same-sex kiss and stuff. All it makes me feel like is, and I said this before in one of my other videos, that we're living in a world, yeah, where there are people that do not practice religion. They don't, whether it's your Catholicism, Christianity, Hindu, Islam, like Judaism, there are people out there that do not follow that way of life, right? And to try and make laws which mean that you have to follow them is crazy to me. Like, because I don't believe in the faith that you believe. And I cannot understand a country deciding that they are not going to show something as innocent as that, because ultimately within those same countries, right, you cannot tell me that there aren't gay people that exist there, right? But because the faith says that thou shalt not and thou cannot, but those are just some of the chapters and verses that people choose to abide by, because there are many other passages, and you know, there's many videos out there. I don't have to, you know, dictate and show you what those are. If you want to go and find them, you can. The same way you find the ones that are all anti-gay or whatever. There are scripts and parts of the Bible and parts of different books and stuff that talk about the kind of things that you should or shouldn't be doing, which are completely laughable that you'd ever think about doing them. Like, you know, that one of them is something like, oh, you can only wear a certain millimeter of cloth around your body, or have a certain millimeter of hair on your person, or how your beard must be, or, you know, stoning women on the Sabbath. Like, there are so many weird, crazy things that you would never dream of doing. So, but yet the things that you follow and the things that you interpret and things that you demonize are the ones that I feel fit a narrative. And you know what I feel it is? I feel that it's people who are just naturally disgusted by gay people, whether it's lesbians, whether it's gay people, with trans people, people that find those people and that way of life, they just find it disgusting, and and they might be able to abide it in terms of like, yo, it doesn't affect me, like, you know, but in my heart of hearts, I find it disgusting, I find it gross, I find it weird that someone could do that. It infuriates them so much, or it disgusts them so much, or it makes them feel that those people are degenerates. Like, this is just my interpretation. I'm not saying it's the case for everybody, but to know that it goes from a case of apathy, of not caring, to a conversation of, you are trying to indoctrinate my child with your gay agenda, is that's the reason why it's baffling to me, and why I make that jump. Because for you to be, I don't care, you do what you want, to, well, actually, I don't want my kid being aware of the fact that you exist, because you've got such a fear that your child might grow up to be that way. Because that's the only thing that I can think of. Either that you think that being gay or lesbian is a perversion that you would put in the same category as people just existing, by just existing makes you, by the mere nature, you know, that shouldn't be around children, like, or that you're fearful that they will grow up to be gay, because there's no other reasonable explanation that I can get for why somebody would make that conclusion, that to see an animated lesbian couple would be a problem, or championing some kind of agenda. And obviously this is the conversation that George is having. So I went away and I looked at the scene, and then the first thing I did was, okay, Google AI, show me how many animated kisses there are with heterosexual couples, and it actually said the words. The list is, it's incredibly long, right? But here's a list of some of them, and you've got your Aladdins, your Cinderellas, Sleeping Beauties, Snow White, Shrek, Cloudy with a Hint of Meatballs, Up. What else is there? Anastasia. Like, the list goes on and on and on and on and on. Never mind all the animated series, never mind the animated mangas, the anime games. Like, it is crazy to me that somebody could look at that level of inclusion and go, do you know what? My kids are at risk of this gay agenda. I guess because as a black person and as a gay person, so, you know, as an ethnic minority within the UK, you know, as a gay person, like, again, a minority when the majority of people are straight. Do you know how lovely it is to see yourself represented in a movie because you actually do exist? And the only way that I can kind of, I guess, get people to try and at least understand is, as a black person, yeah, and I know there's many black people, because one of the things that makes me really sad is when I read these comments online, and the kind of things that people, and, you know, I know for a fact that people are gonna happily, you know, send fire emojis to me and lava emojis to me and be like, yeah, fire for that, bun him up, and da 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 da. Like, quite happily would want me, like, someone's son, someone's brother, someone's uncle, and someone's colleague, someone who I think most people would say is a nice guy, would quite happily watch me burn in the fiery pits of some lava because of who I happen to love and who I happen to be attracted to. Another consenting adult, by the way, another consenting adult who I happen to be attracted to. Because of that, they'd be quite happy to watch me burn for just having this video and saying what I'm saying. But to know that as another black person who knows what it's like to be deprived of your basic human right to exist, and, you know, to have all these films, to have all this music that was robbed from black people by white people to elevate themselves, like, our history has denoted that, years and years and years of that. And maybe it's a question, you know, do we feel better for being represented better in movies and the media and the things that other people consume? Or actually, would it be better that we revert back to, you know, people playing us, cosplaying us with blackface? Would that be better? Like, because to me, having representation is one of the best things you could ever have. Like, I remember being at school and being 11 years old at a predominantly white school, because it was a private school, and, you know, I knew from very early on that I was different to other boys. I mean, like, but I tried to channel that down and keep it all down, and not let anybody know. But, you know, at the end of the day, you can't monitor yourself 24/7, 365 days a year, every minute of the day. You can't do that. You know, so it's not to say that people probably didn't think things or whatever, but in my head, like, trying to navigate that because of all of the homophobia that was out there, it was scary. It was horrible. When I should be thinking about like classes and what sports team I want to join and, you know, my future, I'm crippled by this fear, like, and this worry about this massive thing that might come out about me and people will treat me differently. If I'd have seen like more representation of people that looked like me, that were still living great lives, loving lives, that people love them still. If you want to get down to nerdy levels, mate, it's like the X-Men. It's like being some kind of mutant, like, but you didn't feel like you had a superpower. You felt that you had something that people were gonna like judge you for, ostracize you for. That's the kind of thing that, to me, having that kind of representation affords. And people might look at it now and go, oh, it's everywhere. Like, but like gay people, trans people, lesbian people are also everywhere. You might not have someone in your house. You might not have someone that's your mom or your dad, but I imagine that, like, you know, the kind of circles and the ripple effect of people that you might know, there will be someone within that you know. And I'm pretty certain that the people that you know are good people who you probably would look at and go, do you know what? They deserve to be happy, just as I deserve to be happy. They deserve to be happy. They deserve to be fulfilled and live an unsheltered life that doesn't like say that actually you don't deserve as much as me. Like you deserve the same as every other human on this planet, that isn't hurting anyone. Having that representation would have been great to see, number one, and it would have made me feel a lot more comfortable in my own skin, without having years and years of hatred and not wanting to harm myself. And you know, people that have never been in those situations probably don't understand that, like, and probably think, well, you know, whatever, like, it's, you know, because you've never had to think about being straight, you never had to think about, you know, being a white straight person, and like, all I keep thinking about is if it was the other way around, and I was a majority of something, I would never want to take away from someone that is a minority of something, and particularly for something like having representation in a movie, yeah, that is age appropriate. Like if it's seen as for a kiss to be in an animated movie, then all of the Disney movies need to be scrapped into white right now. I mean, you've even got one of them kissing a woman that's asleep. Do you know what I mean? If you want to go that deep, to genuinely say there's an agenda is madness. And the other thing as well is, after watching all of those movies and watching all these heterosexual people in front of me, do you know what's really funny? Not one of them was able to brainwash me to be straight. So what makes you think that a child that just is aware of other people is going to grow up to be the thing that you're so scared of them being? Because I know there's a future that you're envisioning for your child. There's a wedding that you're envisioning. There's probably grandchildren that you're envisioning, and maybe there's part of it actually that is about them, in that you don't want them to have any hardship in life, or you know, you don't want to have to almost come out to your friends and like, oh, I've got like a gay kid or whatever. But it's your kid. Like, why would those things even matter? Like, when it's your child, like, you know, as long as, again, they're not hurting anyone, they're not out here, you know, robbing people and hurting people or anything like that. They're just living their authentic selves and being happy with, you know, the opportunities that you brought for them. Why does who they're in love with matter? As long as the person they choose is also, you know, a lovely person that loves them back. Why does it matter who the person is? I just find that so odd and so strange. So yeah, for me, like the whole Big Brother experiment, it's done exactly what it set out to do initially. Do I think that George should have been kicked out? Again, I don't know what the comment was that he made, but at the end of the day, you cannot get to a point of peace with people if you're not willing to discuss things with them. And whilst I find a lot of the things he said abhorrent, like, I feel as though that you play into a conversation of, oh, everything's getting censored. Do you know what I mean? You're getting cancelled if you're on, you know, that's what the left likes to do. You can't have any different opinions unless you're of this mindset. And you don't bring people along the journey with you like that. Because I think everybody has a right to be heard. But to caveat that though, if what you're saying is so disrespectful and illegal as well, in that it incites hate speech, then actually it's difficult then to provide an environment in which to have that conversation on broadcasting TV, because the person that's going to be responsible is the person that allowed it to be broadcast. So, you know, I think it's a real difficult one. It's a real difficult one, and I'm sure it's one that they would not have taken lightly. But do I think that George is an isolated case? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So, you know, I think it's brave to have Big Brother in today's era. I'd love to know what you guys thought of this. Are you watching Big Brother? What have you made of some of the conversations they're having? And do you think that George was right in what he said? Do you think that people like Shola or Z were right in what they were saying? All the controversy that's gone on with Z and Caroline. And also, what do you think about this gay gender in kids' movies? Like, do we think that actually, you know, that people don't have anything to worry about? Or actually, do we think that, yeah, there are some dangerous aspects to showing that other people exist in the world? Like, I'm just eager to know. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are. If you did enjoy this, then please do drop me a like and subscribe. That'd be great. Thank you very much. And if you do want access to my videos before they come to YouTube, then please do head over to my Patreon, which is a great way to help support the channel, and it's a great way to connect with me more as well. But for now, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you on the next one.